At the United Nations, it's often the voices of powerful nations that dominate. When world leaders like Donald Trump and Emmanuel Macron speak at the United Nations, the world listens.
Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems.
But this time, Botswana just turned the UN table upside down with a fearless speech from President Duma Gideon Boko.
My administration has pledged to reform and strengthen institutions, enhance transparency, and root out corruption.
A voice that carried not just for his nation, but for the entire African continent.
I stand here today in the composite capacity of citizen of Botswana and as an African. Yes, I am an African, stamp and root.
With those powerful words, Botswana's President Duma Gideon Boko shook the UN, declaring himself the trumpet voice of Africa.
I stand here as one of the trumpet voices of Africa,
calling for peace, unity, and justice on the global stage. For decades, Africa has suffered the weight of colonial exploitation, and even as the continent awakens and cuts ties with dependency, insecurity sponsored by dark forces continues to threaten unity and stability.
3 jihadist attacks in northern Burkina Faso since May have killed about 50 civilians, Human Rights Watch said on Monday. In a new report, the NGO blamed the attacks on 2 groups, the Al-Qaeda-linked JNIM and the Islamic State in the Sahel province.
And moving on, let's turn our attention to West Africa. The junta-led Mali is battling a security crisis.
According to Human Rights Watch, JNIM attacked the town of Djibo in May and the village of Yuba in early August, altogether killing 40 civilians.
This has driven millions into extreme poverty and hardship. Yet in the midst of these struggles, Boko rose with a bold and fearless speech. He called out corruption. He condemned the shortage of medicine that recently struck Botswana, and with unwavering courage, he demanded a new chapter for Africa. But this was not just about Africa. Boko spoke directly to world leaders. The wars in Ukraine, the crisis in Gaza, the conflicts tearing nations apart.
We urge all parties to stop the war and seek a peaceful resolution.
His message was clear. Africa will not remain silent while global instability destroys peace and hope. And yet, even as Botswana's message echoed across the UN halls, the breaking news we face today is shocking.
Breaking news coming in, viewers. Poland has once again scrambled its fighter jets, and this is happening after Ukraine says Russia launched a major attack on Kiev and other cities involving hundreds of drones and missiles.
Hospital sources say at least 91 people have been killed in Gaza today as Israel's assault on Gaza City intensifies.
More destruction in Gaza City, where every day is deadly. Over 300,000 people have fled Israel's assault here, but up to 700,000 remain, many who can't afford to leave.
Poland briefly closed part of its airspace southeast of the capital, Warsaw, citing unplanned military activity as Russia launched a new wave of strikes against Ukraine.
The wars rage on, instability spreads, and the call for peace is still being ignored. This is not just a speech. It's a wake-up call for Africa, for the world, for every leader still trapped in silence. Welcome to Win Africa, where we bring you the boldest voices, the fearless speeches, and the untold stories shaping Africa's future.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as an African, I stand here as one of the trumpet voices of Africa, a continent all too often treated with affable indifference. Africa's voice is not heard. This United Nations cannot be truly international. It cannot be truly together and will not be better until our continent, home to 1/5 of the population of the world, is afforded an equal voice at the highest body of this organization. Friends and partners in the Permanent Five, it is time to make good on your promise to a continent. Agree a permanent seat on the UN Security Council for Africa for 80 years, the only continent without one. I also appreciate the decision by Britain, Australia, Canada, and France, among others, to give heightened attention and consideration to the Palestinian crisis. The carnage in Gaza, it must prick our collective consciences. We stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people in their pursuit of a home and of dignity. So too, we affirm our support for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine. We urge all parties to stop the war and seek a peaceful resolution. Distinguished delegates, the theme of this General Assembly is better together. This is not a slogan, it is a truth. We are better together in combating pandemics, better together in adapting to climate change, better together in securing peace, and better together in ensuring that human dignity is not a preserve of the few, but the inheritance of all. Let us therefore recommit ourselves to multilateralism, not as a matter of convenience, but as a matter of deep necessity. For none of us can weather the storms of this century alone. We meet here today and this whole week in these hallowed precincts to remember the overwhelming gravity of the circumstances that gave birth to the United Nations. The ruins of war, a world poised to descend into further mayhem if courageous choices were not made. Leaders of great vision and courage stepped up. They realized that the charms and allurements of our unity trumped any tendencies to divide us, and from their conviction that humanity is better together, this institution was born. Their courage and fortitude merit our recurrent admiration. So I stand on this enchanted spot today to express my thanks and the gratitude of the people of Botswana to our forerunners and to all of you. We must recommit ourselves to the vision, peace, development, and human rights for all people in all nations. I stand here today in the composite capacity of citizen of Botswana and as an African. Yes, I am an African stamp and root. For Botswana, the ideals of the United Nations are not abstractions. They are the foundation of our identity. Since our independence, we've sought to embody democratic governance, respect for the rule of law, including an international rule-based normative order, and the dignity of every human being. We reaffirm today our commitment to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and to advancing equality, including the protection of indigenous peoples, women and youth within our borders and across our region. Yet we also acknowledge that the pursuit of justice is an arduous journey. My administration has pledged to reform and strengthen institutions, enhance transparency, and root out corruption. We do so not for accolades, but because our citizens deserve governments that serve them with integrity. We are on a quest for integrity in African leadership.
Let's pause for a second If you've watched this video up to this point, or you're still tuned in, it means you truly care about the message and support Africa's growth. Please take a moment to subscribe and follow our YouTube community. It shows that you appreciate the effort behind this content and want to see more stories that matter. Let's continue.
Excellencies, Botswana has been blessed with the gift of diamonds. For decades, this resource has financed schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. But today, we confront the fragility of that reliance. Diamond markets fluctuate. Our people's needs do not recede. Our vision is clear: to diversify our economy, empower our people, and create resilience. We invite global partners to invest in renewable energy, technology, sustainable agriculture, and value-added industries. We extend an open hand to businesses, innovators, and institutions ready to walk with us on this journey of transformation. Botswana is a semi-arid country. Our people know the meaning of drought. We know the anxiety of scarce water, of crops that wilt and wither under a relentless sun, of livelihoods eroded by forces beyond our control. Climate change is not a distant threat, it is a present reality. That is why I've joined the Global Center for Adaptation, because adaptation must be at the center of sustainable development. I call on this assembly to scale up financing for climate adaptation. Let us invest in water infrastructure, early warning systems, and climate-smart agriculture. Let us ensure that the promise of the Paris Agreement is not confined to paper, but realized in the lives of farmers, of herders, and children across the global South. Earlier this year, Botswana faced an acute shortage of essential medicines. This crisis exposed not only the vulnerabilities of our supply chains, but the wider inequities of the global health system. Access to medicines is a human right, not a privilege. We call upon the United Nations, international financial institutions, and the private sector to work with us to build resilient health systems. Together, let us explore local production, regional supply hubs, and fairer mechanisms to ensure that no nation is left to face health emergencies alone. As Botswana looks to the future, we do so with humility, but also with determination. We stand ready to contribute, to partner, and to lead where we can. Together, let us ensure that when future generations mark 100 years of the United Nations, they will say of us, they were a generation that turned words into action, promises into progress, and hope into reality. I thank you. Thank you so very much.
President Duma Gideon Boko stood at the UN not just as a leader of Botswana, but declaring, "I am an African. I am an African." Those words set the tone. Africa must be heard. He spoke of rooting out corruption, not just in Botswana, but across Africa's leadership. His pledge was clear. Africans deserve governments of integrity, not puppets of foreign influence. But he also exposed the harsh realities. Earlier this year, Botswana faced an acute shortage of medicine, a painful reminder of how fragile health systems are across Africa.
Botswana declared the public health emergency after hospitals and clinics across the country ran out of essential medicines, leading to postponed surgeries and disrupted treatments of chronic conditions. The crisis is linked to a shrinking national budget caused by the ongoing downturn in the global diamond market. Botswana, with a population of 2.5 million, is one of the world's largest diamond producers, and the country's economy relies on the diamond sector heavily. The decline in diamond revenues has constrained public spending, including critical health sector allocations. The crisis has also been compounded by the withdrawal of foreign aid. Botswana has until recently received significant aid payments for its health services from the United States, including around a third of the budget of its anti-HIV programs. Shortages listed by the Health Ministry include medicines and supplies for managing cancers, HIV treatments, and tuberculosis, among others. To counter the growing crisis, the government has approved just over $18.7 million in emergency funding for medicine procurement. Botswana's military forces have been tasked with taking charge of distributing the emergency supplies. Yudisa Njamela for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
We have with us Lawrence Okeditse, Botswana's Assistant Minister for Health. He joins us live via Zoom from the capital, Gaborone. Thank you, sir, for joining us tonight. Tell us more about the public health emergency declared in Botswana. What has caused this?
Thank you so much, and good evening. So we declared a state of public health emergency in the country, as you would have heard and as you know by now. The main reason has been that we are experiencing a bit of shortages, especially in a lot of the drugs that we need in our clinics and hospitals. So the president then declared a state of public health emergency, and the import of this is that we will then be in a position where we can use unorthodox methods to actually even access some of the medications that we need to access. It also means that the usual procurement laws and regulations that you normally would have to follow can be put in abeyance where it may be necessary. So these will also be a move that will ensure that we move further towards health security for our people, and it will also be a part of our long-term strategic plan to actually revolutionize how we procure medicines, because we've been experiencing a situation where we've been spending a little too much.
His message was simple. Access to medicine is a right, not a privilege. This is where his voice becomes more than national. It becomes continental. As the trumpet voice of Africa, Boko declared that Africans must have an equal voice in the UN Security Council. Because for 80 years, Africa has been sidelined while carrying the weight of global exploitation. Boko's message did not stop at Africa. He turned directly to world leaders and said what many remain afraid to. The war in Ukraine must stop. The crisis in Gaza must stop. He reminded the assembly that Africa will no longer be silent while the world burns, because every war, whether in Europe or the Middle East, sends shockwaves that worsen poverty, displacement, and instability across Africa. But Boko's message wasn't just protest. It was vision. He tied Africa's struggles to the need for unity and multilateralism, from climate change to food insecurity, from pandemics to war. He insisted, we are better together. In this demand for peace, he placed Africa at the center of the conversation, not as a victim, but as a rising voice demanding fairness, dignity, and recognition.
Our vision is clear.
Botswana's president did not just speak for his nation. He spoke for a continent long silenced by colonial legacies, foreign exploitation, and dark forces that continue to sponsor insecurity. His was a message of courage, unity, and peace, a direct challenge to world leaders still trapped in politics of division. But here's the shocking reality. Even as his speech echoed through the UN halls, wars rage on, instability spreads, and millions continue to suffer in poverty and displacement. This was more than a speech. It was a wake-up call, a warning that Africa will no longer bow to silence or injustice. Do you believe the world will finally listen to Africa's trumpet voice, or will these calls for peace continue to be ignored? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe to Win Africa for more fearless voices. bold speeches, and untold African stories. If you would like to watch the video of Burkina Faso's Prime Minister's speech representing the AES nations at the UN, click the video on screen.